There she goes indeed. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to the Sports Spotlight right here on Radio Azad. Every Sunday between 10 a.m. and noon, we get together here to shine the spotlight brightly on all aspects of sport. Friends, before we get going, I got to tell you something that is coming up very shortly. So, Radio Azad, upon great public demand, proudly presents the film screening of the Pakistan psychological horror film Deemak, which stars Sonia Hussain, Saman Ansari, director Rafe Rashdi, and producer Sayyid Murad Ali, all of them in attendance. Yes, the film focuses on family issues, trauma, mental health, and is very unlike a typical horror clichéic movie. The film screening will be followed by a Q&A with the filmmakers. And this is going to take place tomorrow, Monday, October 13th, 7 p.m. sharp. There's going to be a red carpet with the pictures. So dress for your red carpet best. Location is going to be at the Angelica Film Center and Cafe, which is down on Mockingbird, down in North Dallas. And tickets are only $15, and there are still a few available. You can go check them out, see what's available, and see if you can snap them up before they're completely gone. www.radeemuck.eventbrite.com. For more information or to Zelle, please call Aisha at 817-897-2217 or Sylvie at 214-405-4475. All right. With that, let's get back to the world of sports. Friends, one thing we did not talk about is the Pakistan and South Africa series that got going. This is a two, I believe, yeah, it's two tests followed by three T20Is, followed by three ODIs. So a long, long series. And Pakistan has certainly gotten off to, remember, this is Team Pakistan. So um, present success is never a predictor of future excellence. Absolutely not. The only thing consistent about Team Pakistan is their inconsistency. But hey, they've gotten off to a great start against South Africa at the end of day one. Pakistan did win the toss and they chose to bat first. And man, oh man, at the end of the day, they made South Africa bowl the full 90 overs and have only lost 5 wickets and have put up 313. Now, how do we get here? Man, things did not start off great as Abdullah Shafiq fell on the third delivery of the first over, where Rabada caught him trapped in leg before. Abdullah Shafiq had scored two off of the three deliveries he faced before he was gone. The other opener, though, Imam ul Haq, yeah, had himself almost a century. He ended up getting 93 off of 153 deliveries that he faced before he was gone. Strike rate of 60, but that wonderful stabilizing force that you need in a good test match. Shan Masood, the captain, came in himself at one down and ended up having a 76 of his own and eating up 147 deliveries with 9 fours and a six. So Shan Masood had himself a pretty good day. Babar Azam still isn't right, man. On a couple of shots, he looked good, but then, the full body of work that you see, 23 off of 48 deliveries, less than a 50 strike rate with only 4 fours, no sixes, before he was trapped by Harmer leg before in the, I want to say it was somewhere in the 50th, 60th, 50, might have been the 58th, 59th, 60th over. But when Babar Azam got out, there we go. It was the second delivery of the 60th over when he got out. Pakistan was at that point were at 199 at a loss of 5. Okay, and those wickets actually fell in succession. A couple of overs and no runs in between. Saud Shakil, when he fell in the 57th over, Pakistan was at 199 for four, and then that brought in Muhammad Rizwan, and I had hopes. Rizwan and Babar back at it, out there together, and they played a middling couple of overs, no scores at all, and said it's a test. They're getting set, right? Um, but then in the 60th, Babar Azam goes out. But at that point, Salman Agha came in, and Rizwan and Agha have built this um, more than a century partnership so far that took them into the end of the day from 199 for five to 313 for five, with Mohammad Rizwan having scored 62 off of his 107 deliveries faced for a strike rate of 57.94, two fours and two sixes. Salman Agha, 52 off of 83 deliveries faced, two fours and a six, strike rate of 62, and just surviving the end of the day, the night. Um, that was good. So let's see if they can do some damage on day two and continue to push Pakistan's total towards 400, maybe 500. Pakistan still has Shaheen Shah Afridi, and then the bowlers, Hassan Ali, Noman Ali, Sajid Khan, sitting there behind these two. So Rizwan and Salman Agha are going to have to be counted on to inflate this score to make it a tad more daunting. And then, of course, you'll have Shaheen, you'll have Noman Ali and Sajid Khan. Both of those finds that we had in the test world last year. Hopefully that will continue. They will continue to prosper, continue to produce for Team Pakistan. So that's where we are at the end of day one, 313 at a loss of five for Pakistan. And we'll see how they start day two when things get going. All righty. We are going to switch. You hear that cricket in the back? That's coming to an end because what are we moving on to? Touchdown, Indiana. We've been hearing a lot of that last year and this year. And to discuss that with me on the airwaves of Radio Azad, I've got my good buddy, Patrick Shepard. Shep, welcome. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Good morning. Uh, and yes, Indiana deserved to win that game. That was not at all a fluke. Amazing. Indiana is a national title threat.
Okay.
Say those words and think about that.
That's insane. Okay, so I've got some thoughts on that, but first I want to hear your take on, so they're a they're not a blue blood, they're a new blood, right? For sure.
Oh yeah.
Um, but you started to hear about them. You started to want to pay attention to them last year. But boy, they've come into this year. And with this victory, going into Eugene, going into Oregon and beating them, um, how did they make it happen?
First, Signetti is a really, really good coach. Just Google him, as he said, right after he got hired. And he's good at player evaluation. He's good at running the program. He's good at the X's and O's. He's good at talent acquisition. I mean, he brought over, 20 guys, 22 guys from James Madison when he came over to Indiana. He just knows what he's doing. He's won everywhere he's been. It's one of, so a lot of life does appear to be luck, right? Where you get to get that opportunity at the right
Being in
time.
the right
And
place.
it's amazing because he's not a young coach, but you look at his record and he's won everywhere he's been. He's always been overlooked. I don't know if he didn't interview well, or he didn't have a good agent, or if he just didn't want to move from the place that he was at. He didn't think it was the right thing. But he finally makes it to a Power 4 programs a couple years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's Indiana, which is not a colossus sitting astride the college football world, at least not historically. Okay?
Absolutely.
And last year, look, they had a soft record, but the only teams they lost to were the 2 teams in the national title game, right? And they blew out a lot of teams last year. And they absolutely rocked Illinois a couple weeks ago. And Illinois is not an awful team. They're a good team. They're not a great team, but they're an above average football team. And they beat Illinois worse than Ohio State did.
Yeah.
I know we don't use the distributive property to judge teams, right? But just keep that in mind. And they trounced Illinois. Absolutely.
63-10. Yep.
And they went to Oregon and they beat Oregon. And they was not a fluke. They physically dominated Oregon. I mean, had it not been for the 6-6, which look, it obviously counts Oregon made play, the game's not even as close as it was, which was a 10-point game.
Yep. Well, so I think you nailed that there with how they wore them down, right? It was a close game, even with the pick six playing in, but it was nip tuck, right? 3-0, 7-3, 10-7, 10-10, 13-10, 13-all, 20-13. But in that fourth quarter, they just wore down Oregon, it felt like. And that's not something, even the flashes that Indiana has shown over the past 20, 30 years, once in a while, it's because they got good at offense. It wasn't the defense, but the defensive side of going into Oregon and holding them to 20, really to 13. That's,
yeah, I mean, they were, the offense only scored 13 points for Oregon, and the Indiana defense really controlled the line of scrimmage.
Yep. All right.
Good kudos to the Hoosiers. You know.
All right. Well, but here's the thing. Did you know who they're? So this is the world of what is it? The great equalizer that we had about 10 years ago, right? Where where it's not just the blue bloods who have more money than anyone else. You can actually start to invest money in legal, above the table ways.
Yep.
And Mark Cuban, did you know, is one of the largest beneficiaries of the Indiana Hoosiers.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he's an alum. He did go to Indiana, and he has. I forget the amount. I don't want to misquote the number right now. I mean, it's multiple millions that he's invested in the program over the past 2 seasons. Now, how much of that is, as you said, life is a conglomeration of everything, right? Would Signetti by himself have affected this change? Maybe not. Would Mark Cuban's monetary financial ingestion have done it by itself? Maybe not. But I think it's that perfect storm, getting this.
The combination, yeah, because now it's legal.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, he's definitely invested quite a bit of money and is seeing immediate results. I gotta say, I was, in spite of that, they beat Kennesaw State 56-9, and then Indiana State 73-0. That 73-0 against Indiana State kind of opened my eyes a little bit, but I was still discounting them. But then when they trounced Illinois 63-10, I thought, okay.
Yeah, that's when I started paying attention. Okay, because they struggled a little bit against Old Dominion. They waxed Kennesaw State, and then they scored 73 against Indiana State.
Mhm.
Which, look, 73 is hard to do against air.
Yep. Especially I mean, it's not much of a rivalry, but it's an in-state rivalry game, and those end up being closer than they should on paper often. So that's why I was saying, like, that really opened my eyes when they just absolutely demolished them. I said, okay, this is what good teams are supposed to do, and they did it. They didn't.
Yep.
They didn't play down to the competition. They did not look past them to that ranked team in Illinois the following week. All of those things that the middling teams do, even the above
Yep.
average teams do, they did not do. So that really caught my eye. And then, in spite of all of that, the focus that it requires for them to come in then against a ninth-ranked Illinois and just absolutely demolish them, I thought they were for real. Now, that conviction wavered a little bit last week when they played at Iowa and won 2015. But Iowa's historically had a tough defense, even when they struggle on offense. They're always going to play tough, and it's a road game, and it's coming off of an emotional destruction. So maybe I should have discounted it a little bit more than I did. But I was like, okay, here we go. The bubble's about to burst. They're going to go to Oregon, and Oregon's going to just shellac them. And boy, oh boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Indiana's schedule, they have the. It's just going to be crazy because we would not have said this through. So the hardest game it looks like they have left, UCLA.
Yep. Did you see what UCLA did to Michigan State yesterday?
Well, that's why because they got Michigan State next, and then they've got UCLA. At Maryland could be tricky. Okay, though Maryland collapsed at the end of the game yesterday, losing to Nebraska.
Yep.
At Penn State, well,
is Penn State going to have a coach?
I mean, Penn State's lost 3 in a row. They lost their quarterback. They look lost as a team. And then Wisconsin's a dumpster fire. And Purdue's not at Indiana's level right now. So they're going to be favored by probably 10-plus points in every game. And Cignetti's going to have the problem now of keeping his team up and all that. Man, they're probably going to be 12-0 at the end of the season. And they'll probably play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game.
That's going to be wow. I did not, I saw the rise last year. I didn't see this coming. I think the toughest game, the trajectory on which Penn State is right now, the toughest game is UCLA, and they're lucky they've got them at home. And if they win that Penn State game, you're absolutely right. They're going to be 12-0. And boy, oh boy, I don't know what's going to happen with Ohio State. They're probably going to end up seeing each other in the playoffs as well, possibly.
Ohio State's got a really good defense. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about their offense yet this year. But the thing is, with their schedule, man, they have plenty of time to figure it out on offense. Last year, they didn't figure everything out until they got that mini camp at the end of the season to fix everything and go on a national title run. So, I mean, look, they're number one. They're going to be undefeated, I think, and it's a safe bet. And then they may lose, but I don't know who's going to beat them. And by the way, they beat that Illinois team very comfortably yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean,
not like Indiana.
At no point in that game did anyone ever think that Illinois had a chance.
Absolutely. Right? So yes, I think all eyes definitely are going to be on that Big Ten championship game. In the sports world, we learn, and yet we don't learn to not look too far ahead.
Yes, okay. So is Wisconsin going to beat Ohio State? No, they're not. Is Penn State going to beat Ohio State in Columbus? No, they are not. Yeah. Is Purdue? No. Is UCLA? I mean, I like what they're doing, but no. Is Rutgers? No. They're at Michigan. Okay, and that's a weird game for Ryan Day. But does this Michigan team? I mean, I didn't think that they could win last year, so we'll see. But this Michigan team and their offense does not look like they can beat this Ohio State team.
All right. Speaking of a surprising ranked team that has kind of wormed their way into constantly being in the wiggle their way, worm. Seems more negative than I intended. Iowa State The Iowa State, who are they, Cyclones,
Yep,
came in ranked 22nd with that one loss yesterday, went into Colorado. Does Coach Prime have things figured out after, post Shadur? They struggled early on, but
well, I don't know if I would say he hasn't figured out. I mean, Colorado's still what 3-4.
Yeah.
But they haven't fallen apart. I mean, with a program like Colorado, who, as far as I know, doesn't have a benefactor like a Mark Cuban to pump up the recruiting side, you're going to have some ebbs and flows. I mean, like Prime can recruit, but he's also dealing with some real serious health issues. They haven't really been blown out yet, right?
Yep.
So that's a credit to him. They've got a tough road game against Utah, and then they play Arizona State in case they can season. But I think they can go bowling. I think, and that's a win for Colorado.
Yeah.
Especially considering their history since the last 25 years has not been stellar.
Not since Rick Neuheisel.
Yeah, well, no, they made the one Big 12 championship game where they wrecked Nebraska, right before Nebraska got wrecked by Miami in the national title game.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Prime. Look, man, and give him credit where credit's due. He's actually done better at Colorado than I thought he was going to. I didn't think he was just going to be like an epic disaster, but I thought that the realities of big time football would have been ultimately too much for him to handle. I know he was wrong about that.
Well, that's the thing. He came in with so much hype that the conventional wisdom was that there's no way he's going to come close to matching the hype. And those who live in the real world, like yourself and I, we knew that he wasn't going to come in and win a national championship. Like, I mean, that was just ridiculousness. And that was almost some of our brethren in our industry setting him up for failure, right? They were overhyping when he came over.
Yeah, and that's something that happens too much in the sports media world. Mm-hmm. And you got to get clicks, you got to get views, but you also have to just hey, and that's why when you truly do have something extraordinary like what Indiana's doing, that's why it's more special, is because it's so rare.
But, yep, absolutely. All right, Shep, wonderful conversation. We got to take a break, but it's going to be a short break. We're going to be back in about 4 minutes, and we'll finish up more college football. I don't know if we're going to take the college football conversation all the way to 11:30. We might transition over to the pros. I do have to touch on the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I have a resolution. Resolution for this season. That's coming up when we talk about the Mavs and the upcoming NBA season after the break. You're listening to the Sports Spotlight with Rajan and Shep.
This is Radio Azad, where your voice matters. Streaming in Dallas, Fort Worth, and all around the world.